Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Scruggs. I'm an IT manager at Hobart Service in Troy, Ohio, and chair the Technology First Infrastructure Cloud Special Interest Group. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you here with us today for our 14th annual Taste of IT. Please join me in thanking our sponsors. At the Diamond level, Cincinnati State. At the Gold level, Cadre, Checkpoint, and Okta. At the Bronze level, 8451, ComSpark CDO, CyberRabbit, Dell, Exagrid, Extreme Networks, Franklin University, Gigamon, Nexagen, Sinclair, and Smart Data. And to our annual partners, ATC, Affidance, CareSource, Cincinnati Bell, Google, Round Tower, University of Dayton, Wright State University, and Uptime, we couldn't do this without your support. Thank you very much. So let's get started with this session. Today we have Sean McShay, the Executive Director of Cloud Services at the Kroger Company, who drives transformation efforts critical to the Restock Kroger strategic plan to redefine the food and grocery customer experience. He is currently leading teams focusing on modernizing the IT infrastructure and platform architecture across Kroger's data centers, public cloud, and 2,800 retail stores. This effort includes the strategic partnerships with Microsoft and Google, establishing Kroger's public cloud platforms to drive the digital transformation of all internal and externally facing applications and data analytics. He has a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from the University of Cincinnati, where he took part in an international studies program in Germany focused on computer engineering and international business. Raised in Boston, Massachusetts, Sean is an avid sailor who enjoys spending time on the water with his wife, Erica, and their dog, Jameson. Please join me in welcoming Sean McShay from the Kroger Company as he discusses accelerating to the cloud with automation.
Thank you, John. Also want to thank Technology First for having me here today. So hopefully you can hear me okay. And let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, we should be good to go here. So like John said, I am from Kroger. Just a real brief introduction to Kroger. If you don't shop there, I'd be a little bit surprised since most folks are locally around Dayton area, and we are headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio. Honored to say that we're roughly around 2,800 stores across the nation, serving in 35 states plus Washington, D.C. We have just under 500,000 associates that help serve over 11 million customers a day and growing, especially due to the pandemic. Some of these numbers are a little outdated from 2019, but I just wanted to share some of the scale as we talk through some of Kroger's cloud journey. So today we're going to be talking about Kroger's journey, and then hopefully I can share some tidbits of lessons learned, some areas that I've executed pretty flawlessly, and then some key areas that you can leverage for your own journey. And then we'll get to some Q&A session where hopefully it's a little more dialogue than just me kind of sharing one-sided here. So first, to start off, it's a little bit dark to start off with a negative statistic, but I think it is fair to say roughly 70% of change or transformation programs fail due to many different reasons. It can stem from lack of planning, setting in rigorous measuring standards, to not really evolving and looking at your culture and the health of the organization as you're going through the change, all the way to how leadership steps in from visibility and daily execution to accountability and ownership. It's fair to say that retail industry, just like many industries, I'm sure like your own, definitely face a critical time right now to reinvent to serve our customers and serve the way that they are demanding out of us today. So since we're being asked to be engaged in many different seamless ways across our ecosystem, whether we're talking about in our brick and mortar stores, online, delivery, we need to make sure that back end from technology and product that we can scale and look at it from that horizon. So here, just to give a brief little bit of where we're going to go in today's session and hopefully can help. The one area where we saw cloud just from the initial area of focusing with our digital and agile transformation, some things never change. I think it's decade, 2 decades old of people, process, technology. As you go through any major change, you always have to stay tuned to all three of those areas. So how are you going to take this change and transformation and making sure that you invest it with your people to the processes and how you can lean those out and improve them for speed and agility with development and security to technology and how we look at implementing technologies. So again, this is really just an onset to share some of the transformation up front, and now we'll get into a little bit of why cloud for Kroger. So again, early on, we knew that during this transformation, going from brick and mortar and looking at technology debt like a lot of folks have, you can't scale mainframe in the sense of building agile and putting APIs on top of it and microservices to scale out to serve the customer. So we quickly realized that we were going to be pretty much locked into some tech debt. And that's where the cloud really unlocked it for us. This helped us looking at cloud and looking at some of the technology choices that we need to do and abstract away from some of the legacy. The landscape was pretty easy to look at, and the partner ecosystem of cloud offerings were pretty vast. So it was a really good opportunity for Kroger to look at our partners and partner with them appropriately as we went and embarked upon the cloud journey. So there's a few things on this list. I'm not going to read it all out. Again, the way that we look at cloud is they're investing billions into R&D, their product enhancements each year. That's way more than what a grocery store company can and really should be doing with its money to focus that energy and time. So really partnering with these vendors and having a true partnership and co-inventing is really critical in cloud. It's just not a platform. Again, it's really a partnership, and that's how Kroger approached it. The other piece, I guess word to the wise, maybe is how I'd say it, but number 6, I'll jump straight down to it. When you get to a cloud and you get to the providers, again, one of the best things is you have this now platform, this ecosystem that you can work into, but you also have a ton of functionality, a ton of services, and a ton of opportunities for the business. But you also need to realize that as you want your technical teams and product teams to innovate and always be looking to the next feature and functionality that's going to drive the right interaction with the customer or internally for productivity, you need to make sure that you're really focusing in on reducing and staying focused. And with that, you just don't want to unlock 200 new services and offerings to your technologists because they'll just run and it looks like a candy store to them or a toy store, and you got to reel them back in, and then it's kind of a disappointment for them. So make sure that as you do embark upon a cloud journey and you do select your one or multiple cloud vendors, that as you do so, release those services in a little governed way. I know governance is a bad term in the industry, but you really do need to be wise on how you share that out. So shifting into why cloud for Kroger, we took an initial approach and we looked at it 3 different ways, as you can see on this slide. The first one really is around agility. So how do we look at going faster? how do we look at innovation and the ability for product teams to bring something to the engineering teams and be able to test and learn and then be able to scale up. I'm not sure, like many of you, but for us, we had a lot of great success coming out of many different areas of the business where we would do a pilot in 1 or 2 stores, but then all of a sudden you get the business all excited about it, and then you have to go back and say, okay, well, now we need to go for additional funding. And now we're going to say, hey, it's going to take a year plus to roll out, because now, unfortunately, we need to go order a lot more hardware to meet the 2,800 stores, or like I said earlier, 11 million customers a day, and that load on those services. So the cloud is just a great platform. And again, one of the agility pieces that we love is we can now innovate, have that cycle time, and then be able to, if it's meeting our demands or exceeding it, be able to scale out at the pace and time that's needed. So that is one of the leading reasons why we went to cloud and continue to leverage cloud. And it's the number one piece on kind of the chart here. The second is for reach. We are a national company. Like I said, we serve from coast to coast, including Alaska. And we need the ability not to just be local, but to serve all the communities that we offer. So cloud service or cloud providers definitely gives you that ability to reach customers, simplify that scale, and then also increase kind of your reliability and security there. The last piece is around cost. And I do want to caveat this. I kind of wish I had put in a major asterisk. Cost should not be your main driver for going to the cloud. As you can see, it's our third here for a reason, and we're really calling out here at the bottom left. This is where, one, again, about the innovation, the ability to move fast. So now for teams to innovate and have a sandbox environment, they're able to spin it up that day. They're able to get into it in minutes and test and learn. And that is for us the great ability of, hey, you no longer have to grab some funding, get some hardware brought into the data center, test it, and then bring in more. Or perhaps the test and learn, hey, we don't need to go in that direction for our customer or for our supply chain. So we're going to pivot. And now that hardware is just sitting there empty and not driving a purpose. So it really helps bring financial transparency and that total cost of ownership. That's one of the other things that we love about the cloud is the ability to show the true TCO and the ability to show true transparency to the finance team and the ability to say, hey, these services are no longer needed, and then get that instantaneous scale down in that cost savings or cost avoidance as you move forward. So again, very critical. I want to caveat, please, if you're going on a cloud journey, you're just starting, do not look at it as a upfront, you're going to reduce cost. It never happens for anybody. You can achieve it later on, for sure, especially as you mature and you get into the appropriate measures and automation. It is a phenomenal platform to do that, but not upfront. Now shifting into more of Kroger's strategy and how we saw the cloud adapting into it. As you can see, and like I shared early on, Kroger's really about meeting the customer where they're demanding us to be. So that, again, could be brick and mortar, it could be delivery, it could be store pickup and ship to their house for some services. So there, we need a seamless way. We obviously don't want to inconvenience customers and have them go to many different platforms. And for that, we really just tapped into the evolutionary development frameworks and life cycles. So obviously, we started our agile methodology years ago, 6+ years ago, and really brought in DevOps with our teams to really make it more efficient with operations, reduce that downtime and really improve performance and scalability. And then to really go the fastest way possible is looking at the infrastructure as code and looking at the rest of the automation that really gives you the ability. If we're looking at our data science world where they run analytics and you can scale things down, it's a great area that we saw cost savings immediately when kind of maturing that space. It's also where we saw teams be able to scale really fast in terms of secure, repeatable internal patterns for Kubernetes or for other areas within the business and technology needs of databases or middleware components, and able to scale those up. So that's how we saw the Agile fitting into the DevOps, and you could say it's Dev DataOps, DevSecOps, and then really that full automation pipeline with including infrastructure as code to really make it the fastest for the development teams while also keeping it secure. From here, we took about a year and a half ago, we started off as a smaller group, just bringing in the cloud, learning, maturing, and focusing in on our data science, and then slowly bringing that into our digital area across multiple clouds. And then we formalized across the company into three main areas, and that's around the migration, greenfield, and enablement. I'll start again from the bottom up here because this slide really should be reversed. It is a must to invest in your people, invest in talent upskilling, and bring in the right folks, whether it's virtual, especially due to COVID, or people on premise to help drive trainings and skilling up the talent, because you need to invest in this journey. It was a perfect area that we partnered with our cloud service provider. They helped to bring in trainings. We got virtual classrooms, and we also did other areas where we incentivized associates to take nano degrees to learn their areas. And it's an absolute must for your journey to be very successful. And then from there, as you have that skill talent starting to mature across the teams, you then get into the ability where you can modernize applications and really go from this innovate and have the ability to innovate and then scale when you prove out the economics of your project, your program, kind of product area, whatever it might be. We do a lot of dev days where we let people just experiment and bring things to the leadership teams and go from there about funding and kind of pushing the right things forward. And then at the very top, you see migration. So we took migration as kind of a two-step prong. One, it was a really good area for us to bring the right automation, maturity, foundation around network, security, the automation pieces, your standard pipeline that we push out to development teams, and really mature the operations so that as we got more towards the higher critical pieces and product offerings that we put onto these platforms, you're in a really good, mature, safe spot to offer those out. So again, key takeaways, please do invest in upskilling. Make sure that you bring in the right level of training, right level of folks to mature, to do coding side by side. It's really the best way to grow that. It is always good to bring in a third party group to help you, but you don't want them to drive it all, because at the end of the day, they leave and you need to make sure that your company is in a good spot to pick it up and drive it forward. Now we shift over to the operating model, and I probably should have rephrased the title here to emphasize and make sure this isn't just one group's responsibility. When you go on a cloud journey, especially with Kroger and other companies, you are transforming, and you need to be able to deliver across the board. Again, you need folks from network, you need security, you need people from finance to be in there, obviously sourcing up front. And as you go through it, you realize that you're just not changing one area and one piece of doing business. You're changing how you engineer, how you develop, how you then scale out and do product management, how you can go faster and deliver for the business and for your customers. So key number one, don't do this in a bubble. The way that Kroger took this approach was we created a cloud COE. I lead our cloud services group that really is there for the initial building some best practices, but also partnering across the cloud COE. That includes architecture, solution architectures. We created line of business SMEs that were then kind of their champions within those groups. And then from there, we brought in security folks, network folks, compute folks. We brought in the developers. We brought in the database DBA teams. And that created kind of the team of teams going in and really helping all the different lines of business around, whether, again, we're talking about the greenfield, whether we're talking about innovation, lift and shift, and driving some greater synergies and operational ability for automation. We also purposely wanted to stay away from creating it within like a CTO organization or a cloud services group that only did cloud for everybody. We wanted to enable the team, so we were absolutely against any ivory tower building. It's purely an enablement team to help the teams go faster, to help build out some of those initial Lego blocks and repeatable patterns for them, and make sure that the company's safe as we release those services and work with those teams. So it's critical as you look at your program and how you might approach it. These are the key areas that we took a focus at. But again, it should not be just one team. You need to partner across the board. Now we're looking at kind of the success formula. So there's three areas that I want to touch on today. So on the far left, you can see vision and strategy, obviously up front, pre-planning. You need to make sure that you really plan out how you're approaching your journey, knowing that it is going to be a multi-year journey, and you need to invest in your people, invest in the automation, bringing in some talent to help your talent grow and foster there. So we really initially kicked off in a small area, again, focus on data science, and then bringing that into how we look at the larger program and releasing the cloud platform for the rest of the enterprise. So then the clear why sells into the buy-in from the enterprise, and then from there, really bringing in the right training opportunities for your people, and then the tooling to make sure that you streamline and simplify. Kroger also took a multi-cloud approach. This does not mean that we went cloud agnostic. Personal preference, I would not approach cloud agnostic. You just, in my personal opinion, you're not going to get the benefit from the cloud. So we really looked at it from just a continuity perspective. It's safe having multiple vendors in this area, but also looking at it and really prioritizing the right workload patterns per where each team was focused, and then where the cloud service provider was best in class to serve in those cloud native areas. And that's how we took that approach. And we do have multiple clouds there, but again, we are not cloud agnostic and going to the lowest or highest common denominator there. And I hope that your teams can also leverage the native services, because that's really where you see the speed of market and really the fastest way your development teams can deliver. Processes, this is a big one, especially coming from a century-plus old company. As we look at that, there's a lot of legacy processes that could be from your waterfall days, might not have leaned out, really should be automated. And again, this is not a quick, easy fix. So as we went through some of the processes, we've been trying to automate as much as we can, which goes into automating compliance, but also automating some other processes. And it just takes a while to really work through that list and always continue to make sure that your developers are first-class citizens, that they're not just thought of after the fact and you overcomplicate how they can develop and how they can deliver products. So do make sure that you look at your processes there. And then again, automate compliance. That is a area that highly recommend that you invest in, work with third parties, always continue to never let down your guard, obviously, with security there. And then we took operating for the value. So then we took a cloud first approach. This does not mean that we're 100% cloud, but where cloud appropriate, we definitely do look at cloud. And then looking at a lot of our legacy applications and portfolio, going through that analysis, we went through and said, hey, what's a competitive advantage for Kroger to operate? And then looking at just common areas of HR tooling, ERP, those items really, for us, cloud first just doesn't mean doing it yourself. It also means looking at SaaS. And that was one of our big pieces of how do we simplify what we have on premise, what we're managing, and really making sure we're investing Kroger talent in the appropriate engineering development areas, focused on our customer, focused on our associates serving the customers in that supply chain. And then really, how are you enabling as you go through this journey? You don't want to stay in that legacy process for day two ops, nor do you want to bring kind of that mindset that you just throw it over the fence. So again, really bringing that DevOps mentality and working through it, and also maturing that for each team. And now pushing into, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, how we look at our portfolio. Our portfolio is very large, again, century-old company, and having quite a few applications. It was really time to go through and really own whether we were going to modernize, sunset, rehost them. So this is the framework Kroger kind of put forth. So we took the ours approach that you can see on the right side of the screen, and then the left side, we looked at where we were really going to get the cloud benefit and where we were looking at just simple little wins of lift and shift, all the way up to where we need to modernize and re-architect a little bit for that best value of moving it to the cloud. So hopefully this is a model that you can take and really drive in your own teams. The other piece that I'll call out here, excuse me, on the bottom right, so from a piece, as you go through your journey, and one of the learnings I'll share, don't wait towards the end when you get everything fully matured and fully baked out. You want your teams and where you're really going to invest in your future, and we call it the greenfield areas of something new products. You want to make sure that you bring them in early so that you're scaling to meet those needs, because ultimately at the end of this entire journey, that's where you want to end up. And then from that mentality, then you're always taking this approach that you're always evolving, having this product mindset and bringing your products forward and not leaving it to, hey, we wrote this and now we're going to move on from this. And then in 20 years, you go back and you say, hey, what's this application running something, right? So really taking that product mindset, bringing it into this framework, evaluating our entire portfolio and appropriately positioning them for kind of our sequence to the journey, which is what we're going to talk about now. So getting towards the end of kind of our piece here, I wanted to share our approach to how we prioritized, how we went about creating kind of our sequencing for these applications and where we were going to help push teams to sunset their application because perhaps that functionality was no longer needed, or perhaps we're going to sunset that functionality into another application so it's just duplicative and we can remove it. So we built this cloud propensity framework. And as you can see, we brought in technical data, we brought in business data, and really created this framework because of our vast portfolio of applications. And this helped to sequence and prioritize how we went after each batch. And each batch is kind of built up by similar patterns of databases, front end, back end, whether it was Java based, which is a lot of our legacy applications, and building that sequence for us to really take that priority list, work with the lines of businesses, making sure that they agreed with that priority, going for the appropriate funding to invest in those teams to upskill them for that journey, and then really execute. So here, for this last slide here, this is really just showing, so then as we put in that framework and scored all those applications within our portfolio, we then brought them into this matrix, and then this is where we said, okay, here's the priority clusters. This is the sequencing for the waves. So first wave, we might have done a little lower criticality, but higher benefit to the business and cost savings and reduce business risk. And then we increase that business risk from there, but also bringing business value with it. So this is just illustrative. It's worked out really well to bring all of this data. We do use a third-party product on the back end to constantly keep this data live and fresh so that it's just not a one-time Excel spreadsheet. So that was the other thing that we did do. So wrapping up, the last thing that I want to talk about before we get to Q&A, it is very important, very critical for the success of our cloud journey, and I share it for everybody else, is how you look at bringing in your OCM team and really focusing to, again, obviously I've said training so many times because it's so important to invest in your people. It's also very important to constantly share your success stories and also your learnings that perhaps maybe you went down an area and you can share that learning of it wasn't the right savings or wasn't the right area to approach, and hey, to speed you up in the future, you can go X, Y, Z. So we took an approach of writing these one-pagers of success stories, and I love it because our CIO, Yale, even has shared them with our senior officers and board of directors, and it's just a great recognition for the teams and all the hard work that they do, and able to share it with the rest of the organization. And it was also great for during COVID, the ability that we already had our foundations in place. We had the ability to automate and scale within minutes, and within 24 hours, able to scale out our VPN to safely and securely let our folks from our general offices work at home and in a safe environment while serving our associates and customers. And those are those great moments that during things like COVID and the pandemic, just continuing to be able to serve the customer and see how the platform scales to meet the demand. So it's just one of those great things that please do invest in OCM in your journey. It's been very beneficial for us. So thank you there. So now we can open it up to questions. Hopefully we get some good questions out there, and happy to have some open dialogue or connect offline.
Thanks, John. Yeah, for those of you who are watching on YouTube right now, if you want to ask a question, head back to the app or to the conference website, to the session there, and ask your question in the chat or in the Q&A panel. Right now, Sean, we don't have anything just yet.
Okay, not a problem. So again, feel free to, if you don't have a question or something comes up in the future, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Kroger emails just sean.mcshay@kroger.com. I'm happy to connect with you and answer any questions or just talk about kind of your journey versus our journey and where we can share.
Okay, we'll give it another minute there, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up.
Great. Thanks, John.
Yeah. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in, but Sean, as you said, folks can reach out to you at your email address or at LinkedIn. Thanks so much for presenting today. A very informative session, and we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, so special thanks to Okta, our featured sponsor for this session. And remember to complete the survey for each session by finding the link in My Agenda session descriptions, which is the same place you click to join this session. By participating in the survey, you make your voice heard and are helping to shape the future of Tech First events. So thank you for taking the time to fill out that survey. And now it's time for a break. Use this time to grab a snack, visit exhibitors, and explore the event platform. There are game codes you can earn by exploring the app, so go to the event game tab to learn more there. And the game code for attending this session today is automation. Thank you so much, and we'll see y'all soon.